What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 14-game MLB slate, courtesy of Awesemo.com. We have a lot of games today, a lot of weather concerns as well, but thankfully no Tanner Roark to have to unpack the philosophical issues of playing today. So like this video right now and leave a comment down below giving me your favorite stack on today. Again, we have 14 games, so there's 28 teams involved other than the ones who are going to get knocked out because of weather. So give me your thoughts, whatever teams you're going to be playing the most. Like the video and comment about it down below. First corner I want to hit on is a game with the Phillies visiting the Rockies. The Phillies get 4.7 implied runs from Vegas, while the Rockies get 5.8 implied runs, which is a slate high. Bryce Harper is going to be the most owned part of Philly stacks industry-wide, be still under 20% ownership on all the sites, including FanDuel, Yahoo, and DraftKings. German Marquez has much worse stats versus left-handed hitting so far, 1.43 whip and a 9.71 hits per nine going back to last year. So Bryce Harper's going to have a good opportunity here as the best left-handed hitter in the lineup. I think it's a good spot for him as a one-off, even though the stack itself for Philly maybe not as appealing as a German Marquez. German Marquez is an interesting low-owned option here. We just saw yesterday what Kyle Freeland did versus this Philly stack, and Marquez is a better pitcher. This righty-heavy Philly lineup bodes well. German Marquez is 12.2 Ks per nine and a 2.6 xFIP versus righties. Again, Bryce Harper really the only lefty I'm worried about in that Philly lineup, so I think it could be a good spot here to go to German Marquez at very low ownership. A Colorado stack looks pretty good here with Vince Velasquez not missing bats very well, just a 5.7% swinging strike rate so far in 2019. Some of the guys we talked about yesterday like David Dahl, Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, and Ryan McMahon, who was a late addition to the lineup but ended up having a couple home runs. They all got on track yesterday. Charlie Blackmon desperately is due for some positive regression. He's got no home runs and a .78 ISO in 2019. Vince Velasquez is worse versus lefties with a 1.5 whip and 9.9 hits allowed per nine, so it could be a good spot here for Blackmon to get back on track. He's really the only part of the lineup that didn't get going at all yesterday, so I think it's a good spot to go back to him as part of this Colorado Rockies stack. You've got some pricey pitchers worth hitting on, and Justin Verlander is the first one who you need to talk about. He projects for 28% ownership on DraftKings, 19% on FanDuel, and 30% on Yahoo, and that's going to make him the highest owned pitcher industry-wide. It's under 70-degree weather in Texas, which will help Verlander's pitching out a bit. Hitters like Shin-Soo Choo do grade out pretty well here as a hedge stack, but overall it's hard to not trust the field's ownership on Verlander. He's the safest guy out there, a guy without weather concerns today, which a lot of these guys we're going to talk about next do have. So overall, I do trust Verlander, and I'd want to at least match the field's ownership on him. Corey Kluber projects for some ownership right now, but there is a 75% chance of postponement according to our projections at Awesemo.com. There was already some risk with the Atlanta hitters, though the Vegas total did heavily support Kluber at home here, but it's still a spot where I worry now about this weather here. Probably not going to get to Corey Kluber unless things are announced to be clear before the game starts. There's heavy rain sweeping into Baltimore, so Jose Barrios now faces down a 50% chance of postponement according to our projections at Awesemo.com. It would have been a great spot for Barrios, and if it changes, he does still have a 3.9 run total against him and some strikeouts expected in the Orioles lineup with guys like Chris Davis and Richie Martin over 36%. So Barrios would be a guy I would want to play if the weather does look like it's going to clear up, but if it's not going to clear up, obviously you just need to trust Verlander. And I'm going to throw Madison Bumgarner in this group. He also faces some weather concerns today, though he doesn't currently have a risk of postponement according to our projections at Awesemo.com. The strikeout stuff hasn't been there for Bumgarner since last year, just 7.6 Ks per nine over that stretch, but it's a good spot versus a Pittsburgh team who's striking out 30.2% of the time with a 49 WRC+. There's a weather risk here, but there isn't a chance of postponement according to what we're seeing right now, but it could be a spot to go to Bumgarner just to get off Verlander a little bit, but still have some degree of upside as long as this game looks like it's going to play. The next corner I want to hit on is a game with the Dodgers visiting the Brewers. The Dodgers get 4.7 implied runs, while the Brewers get 4.8 implied runs at home. We talked about them yesterday, and some of them came through, and the Dodgers lefties look good again today. They had some success yesterday versus Zach Davies. Max Muncy in particular had a nice day. The spot versus Julius Chassin is even better with a 1.51 whip for him and just 6.1 Ks per nine versus lefties. So guys like Jock Peterson, Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, the aforementioned Max Muncy all look particularly good, and their prices are a little bit better today than they were yesterday, so I think there's even more reason to go to them as a stack. Brewers stack is going to be a lower owned option after getting dusted yesterday mostly by Julio Urias. Ross Stripling is due for some positive regression looking at the numbers. He's been getting the same swinging strike rate, getting some good chase rate as well, at least comparable to what he had last year. The results haven't been there, so he could just be due, but there's dangerous power for this Brewers stack here with Travis Shaw, Jesus Aguilar, Mike Moustakas, Yasmani Grandal, and Christian Yelich, all with ISOs above 240 versus right-hand pitching. So it is still a good idea to have some exposure to the stack. They have a lot of potential here. Ross Stripling has been blown up from time to time, but Stripling also due for some positive regression, so I could see having both sides here if you are mass multi-entering lineups into a tournament today. And for the last corner, let's go around the bases real fast. Jason Vargas looks like the worst pitcher on the slate so far in 2019 with a 2.84 whip, 19.9 hits per nine, a 4.5% swinging strike rate, and 4.3 Ks per nine, all the lowest on the slate. A Cardinal stack here is appealing. They have 5 implied runs in their favor and low ownership, but it also could be worth a little bit of Vargas exposure because he's just been so bad that he's due for some faint amount of positive regression, though he did do the same thing last year. He started really poorly, got better in the back half of the year, so it might just be a time to keep stacking against Vargas. And again, even if you do have him, I wouldn't have him in more than 1 or 2 lineups. times. Matt Strahm for the Padres looks like the best value pitcher according to our projections at Awesemo.com today. He's got 3.7 runs implied against him, and Cincinnati has a 28.9% K rate versus left-hand pitching. They had a decent day yesterday going against Chris Paddock. The Paddock himself did pretty well. Strahm also due for some positive regression compared to his numbers over a longer period of time. So this year, not looking fantastic, but I think that's going to bounce back here. The spot versus the Reds about as good as you can get for him. Anibal Sanchez is an interesting mid-tier pitching option, with the Marlins striking out 30.9% of the time versus right-hand pitching so far this year. Anibal Sanchez's stuff hasn't been there so far with a 7.7% swinging strike rate, but this has been a good get-well spot versus Miami for a lot of teams in Marlins Park as well, so all the things seem like they would be benefiting Anibal Sanchez here. And an Astro stack is going to be popular industry-wide with 5.6 implied runs for them going against Drew Smyly, a guy who also grades out as a very poor pitcher. George Springer, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and Robinson Chirinos are going to be one of the most owned groupings of the day. If you pivot off of one of those guys here, you're probably going to differentiate a little bit. But overall, those guys look like the best plays on here, so I don't mind just matching the field, even though they are going to be pretty highly owned. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on today's slate. So like the video right now, leave a comment down below giving me your favorite team that you're trying to stack today. If you want to give me a favorite hitter as well, just do that. Let's get the conversation going. Want a little more community building here for these videos like we had for the NBA. So help me out. Like the video right now. Leave a comment down below. And of course, use the promo code SWITCHANDHEDGE to get half off your first month at Awesemo.com. All the ownership projections and rankings, as well as premium content in every sport, they're available for you. Get an all-access pass, get all the NBA playoff, NHL playoff, PGA, all the MMA content you want. All of that's at your fingertips. So use that promo code SWITCHANDHEDGE right now. I'll be back again on Monday with another Four Corners video. So hey, good luck. Enjoy the 14-game slate. Have a great weekend.